Life lessons from the crazy Dutch farmer. The main reason. Lesson number 3. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Persohn. You can contact me at pastor@mascot.church or in the comments below if they're switched on once the video is published. This is my third lesson, life lesson from the crazy Dutch farmer, and this is the main reason. That's the title. I'm going to today give you the main reason people fail in life. The main reason, or if you like something, if you like to hear it in Jordan Peterson-esque kind of way of saying it, you would say it is the main predictor for failure. Well, why do I want to know the main reason for failure? That's because you can avoid it. Then it's pretty fair advice, I think. First of all, I wasn't necessarily going to give this message today because I heard the single most mind-snappingly irritating bit of market speak the other day on a podcast that I was listening to do some training, and it drove me clear up the wall, and it will connect so well to a future life lessons that I wanted to do that one today, but I've chosen to restrain myself and do this one, which is a great lesson. I think next week I'll do that other one. It just irritated me so bad. Well, Harry, the good crazy friend of mine, the Dutch farmer, had a farm that looked wonderful, looked beautiful. Now, this was common amongst the Dutch. Harry was Dutch. I'm half Dutch and half German, and both Dutch and German farmers typically want their farms to work well, but also to look good. But most of the area we lived in were Dutch farmers. And in fact, if you looked at the best producing farmers of all categories and types, the highest production, the Dutch names were just right there on the top of the list. And that was dairy farmers, pork farmers, beef farmers, chicken farmers. It was quite interesting to see. Harry's farm looked great. Down the way, though, was a neighbor. Seemed like a nice gentleman, and he seemed like he was feeding his family all right. His farm just didn't look as good. And we kind of wondered, we talked about it, I talked about it, and Harry said, well, that man has a problem with a bone in his back. And I thought, oh, the poor guy, he's got a back problem. Well, no wonder he can feed his family, but his farm just doesn't look as good as the Dutch farms up and down the stretch. I thought, okay, that's possible. He's got a back problem. Okay, well, anyways, so moving right along, let's get to my story. Then I'll wrap all of this together today. One day, I was working in the workshop with Harry. Now, this was a very medieval environment. Just get this sort of picture of an anvil, a big anvil, and a semi-darkened workshop, and a very big man with a big hammer pounding on the anvil, and a piece of hot metal with a pair of pliers in the other hand. Now, Harry had a way that of making the hammer or the pick or the axe do the work. A lot of times you'll see people pounding and they're controlling the hammer the whole time or the axe the whole time. Once that weight is up in the air, pull it down, make it do its job. And that was a valuable lesson in itself. Might even get a lesson section. Well, in this case, Harry was pounding this piece of metal and he was slamming it and he was pounding it and he was slamming it. Do you know what work is? Work is what it takes to make things around you submit to your will, okay? And probably not the best definition, but it works. And he was pounding it. He had this green shirt on, and he was dripping with sweat. The sweat just poured into the shirt, and of course, he was a big guy anyways, and every time the hammer came down, my ears would just ring, and I just stood there in awe of this sight. And he had his welding mask on. This is a dangerous job. Blacksmithing is a dangerous job. Sparks are flying everywhere, and goes, bam, 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 right? And he's pounding on this piece of metal, making the metal do what he wants it to do. And anyways, he knew that I was standing there and he stopped. He put his hand underneath the welding mask and he clicked it up. Sweat was pouring off his face. He had that look, that, I'm going to tell you something that'll change your life, kid. And he looked at me and he said, I hate lazy people. He put the mask down. And he continued to pound. Bam, 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 bam. Well, yeah, I don't think that he really meant that he hated the people that were lazy as much as he meant to say that he hated the laziness in the people. But that's another question. But that struck me just profoundly. And I've told the story many times, dozens of times, to various congregations when I've had the chance to preach. We talk about diligence and about studying the word, about doing the right thing, how bad laziness is. And so I tell this story. And I'm sure my congregation remembers me telling this one and a couple of others. And so anyways, what's it all about? Well, let's approach it this way. Harry is a very devout Christian, and of course, devout Christians, we all have our verses that we like to quote. My favorite conversation starter verse, there's actually a message in my channel, is this one. It is better to be a living dog than a dead lion. I like that verse. It's a great opener for people who really aren't into, they don't have a Christian connection. It's a good way to start preaching the gospel. Really great. Just to have one of those verses. Well, Harry had a favorite verse. It might not have been a favorite verse, but it was the favorite verse that he quoted to me, okay? And I'll give you the verse, and then we'll look at the context. Harry's favorite verse that he quoted to me was, "Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise." Let me pop this up on the screen from the book of Proverbs for you here. It is from Proverbs chapter 6. I'm reading out of the ESV, which is very close in its wording to the King James and the New King James Bible. And here we go. "Give your eyes no sleep and your eyelids no slumber. Save yourselves like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you rise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man." That is one great passage. The book of Proverbs, and we'll look at a few other references, has a significant number of references about the curse of laziness. The curse of laziness. Coming back to my opening phrase, before I do that, let me just give you another phrase. It's commonly used in English. We say, all things being equal. In other words, if I have a group of 5 people and we give them a reasonable task, all things being equal, they should accomplish the task at about the same time. Why do we say all things being equal? Well, one of them might have perhaps a physical injury or might encounter some challenge along the way, maybe an earthquake, volcano, tornado, hurricane, flood, who knows? Something that stops that person and puts them behind the others. So when we use the phrase, all things being equal, we mean basically when everybody's conditions are about the same. So here we go. All things being equal, the greatest reason for human failure is laziness. All things being equal, the greatest predictor of human failure is laziness. There, that's the lesson from Harry, and I agree with him. Imagine having lived your life in laziness and find out that it's like, there's nothing I can do to shake this. Look at what it's cost me over the years. I see it all the time, ladies and gentlemen, all the time. Let me go and show you a couple of more passages about this very subject from the book of Proverbs, okay? The book of Proverbs, then we'll come back to my opening comments about the neighbor. Here we go. Proverbs chapter 10 and 4. "A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Poverty and disgrace come to him who ignores instruction, but whoever heeds reproof is honored." Proverbs 14:23. "In toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty." Oh, dear Lord. Oh, my. Anyways, moving right along. "For the drunkard," this is 23:20, "for the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty, and slumber will clothe them with rags." Proverbs 28:19, "Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits will have plenty of poverty." Imagine that, plenty of poverty. Yes. So this lesson number 3 is a lesson about the greatest reason for human failure, laziness. When Harry was pounding the anvil and ticked it up and said, "I hate lazy people," He really made the point that it's lazy people who cause so many of our problems. Just have a look at our society today and look at all of the people who have simply learned to get their hand out. And those of us who are working are, of course, are the ones indirectly filling their hands. Now, one of the many problems in our culture and our society today is we're rewarding not hard work. We're rewarding laziness. If you just sit back and you're lazy, well, we'll give you this benefit, that benefit, and so on. Now, there's nothing wrong with benefits to people who are simply unable to perform or can't or whatever, but you know where it's gone. We have entire strata of our society that have been benefit destroyed. The benefits have just done the wrong thing to them. That's another topic altogether before I get into trouble. Now, I want to talk about the neighbor who had the problem, the bone in his back, because that was sort of perplexing. Well, okay, so your farm looks great. His doesn't look so great. He's got a back problem. He's got a back problem. And one time, after discussing this, Harry leaned forward and said, "I'll tell you about the bone in his back." I said, "What's the problem, Harry?" And he said, "He's got a lazy bone." Yep, that makes sense. Yes. His farm didn't look as good in Harry's view, and he was probably correct, because he just didn't work as hard at making it happen that way. Hey, I've gone a little bit longer than I normally do today, but it's a bit more of an important topic and a very, very important one. We'll try to keep these other ones down to 5 or 6 minutes, but that's the number one predictor for human failure, all things being equal. The main reason people fail, all things being equal, is laziness. Don't be caught there. You want some more information on it? The book of Proverbs. Read it cover to cover. You'll find a lot of good instruction. Hey, my name is Al Persohn. You can contact me at pastor@mascot.church or in the comments below. I would love to hear your comments. Like, share, and subscribe. And we will be back. All of these lessons are going to be available. They are available in a playlist. God bless you. We will talk to you later.